This is SFBarkast. I'm Jeff Cleary.
I'm Andrew Lauder.
And Andrew, where are we today?
We are at El TechoDeLolinda.
God, you're so multilingual. You know that?
Muchas gracias.
Well, hopefully, if we speak two languages, then maybe we'll get more listeners.
The key is in the overpronunciation.
Oh, okay. And where is this bar?
This is in the Mission, and it's, between 21st and 22nd on Mission Street.
Mission Street. Mission Street is changing, like, dramatically right now.
Yeah, it looks like Dubai here or something like that. Everything's under construction.
Well, there's no skyscrapers, but, yes.
Not yet.
It used to be this really reliable rule that everybody who came in for Friday and Saturday night in the Mission, they would, like, basically stay to Valencia Street. And in fact,
and if they didn't, they get shot.
They get shot.
As a little friendly reminder.
Well, in the way that, like, you know, white people are just like, well, that's where the brown people are down there on Mission Street.
Exactly.
Like, we stay on our side. But it's dramatically changing right now. Like, Mission Street is becoming gentrified over, and it's like a common theme going on in the Mission right now. It's a huge source of neighborhood stress.
Unlike when we moved here, you now find white people in many parts of the Mission, and not just between the Skylark and the BART station.
Some people would think that when we moved here, we were the gentrifiers when we showed up. But if my memory serves me correctly, I remember they had a parade for us right down Mission Street, and they're like, thank God these two guys came here.
Well, that, and you can't really gentrify a place if you're dirt poor and, like, you know, and not eating out or doing anything that rich people do.
So just on this block, okay, we have Foreign Cinema, which is a shishi restaurant. In fact, I was reading, it was National Geographic Traveler once.
Okay.
And they were like talking.
Wow, look at you.
Yeah. And they were like, you know,
reading on a bus station bathroom.
And they were profiling all these, like, exotic places to go. One of them was Foreign Cinema in the Mission. And I was like, well, maybe if I save my money, I'll go down there someday. So that is a huge, like, shishi restaurant where they actually project a movie outside in the patio. And it's like, it's foreign cinema, hence the name. And so, like, you don't have to actually, people don't pay attention. You can sit and talk, and if somebody wants to read the subtitles, they can do that.
Yeah, it's not exactly the optimal way to actually see a movie.
I mean,
but like, yeah, especially since you're going to probably pay like $200 to eat there, and like, yeah, it's like, you know, ignore the food and, like, yeah, tell everybody to shut up because you're watching La Traviata or whatever.
Right, yeah. I mean, I was thinking, like, I don't know if this, I've never seen this happen over there, but there's had to be one or two instances where some fucking guy's like, everybody be quiet, it's fucking Bergman.
Right. This is what Eisenstein was made to do, and you people are eating oysters?
How can you eat while we're watching Wild Strawberries?
Exactly. Well, there's a bar attached to that place too, called Laszlo.
Laszlo's.
Yeah, which I wouldn't mind doing someday because that's kind of a fun little place.
That's a really nice bar.
And we could always geek out on, like, the work of Laszlo Kovacs,
yeah, cinematographer, right?
Yeah.
And then right over next to there was. There's this bar, there's this theater, the Mission Theater, that is getting renovated by the Alamo Draft House.
Yes.
So it's going to be. I've seen pictures of inside there, and it's been just empty for years. Yeah. And it's one huge theater, and they're going to break it up. I think they're going to be 5, like, small screening rooms.
Nice. And
it's going to kind of be like that McMenamins thing up in Portland, where you could go and drink a beer and watch, I don't know, Smokey and the Bandit.
An idea that I'm surprised has taken this long to actually, like, you know, get a foothold in San Francisco.
Do you think there will be, like, gimmick theater wars between Foreign Cinema and Alamo Draft House?
One will show Caddyshack, the other one will show Caddyshack 2.
And across the street from there, what used to be called 12 Galaxies. Mm-hmm. And then it was called the Blue Parrot. And now it's called Belonsoir. So that will give you, like, an idea of how the neighborhood's changing. Like, 12 Galaxies was named after this eccentric, mentally ill person in San Francisco, Frank Chu, who, like, walks around with a sign and, like, that informs people about 12 Galaxies, and
friend of the show.
And then it became Blue Parrot, I think, and which I don't know if that's like a Jimmy Buffett bar or some shit like that. I never went in there. Right. And now it's Belonsoir.
I think, like, it's in its next incarnation, the name will be like "Fuck Off Homeless People."
Yeah, it'll just be like pretentious restaurant.
Like, it'll be called "Do You Know Who I Am?" Like bistro.
But also down here is the Doc's Clock, which is a great bar. Like,
Totally.
and that's an old staple.
Somewhere like probably season 2 or season 3, we'll get there.
Okay, but enough about those fucking bars. How about this bar?
Well, the primary, I mean, like El Techo, literally means the roof.
I was calling it El Techno.
Little techno.
I was kind of looking forward to little Chemical Brothers up
exactly.
here.
Like we get up here, there's there's just nothing but Latino music. Well, what happened? But,
Latino music in the Mission?
right, you're like, I do not pay $8,000 a month for rent to listen to this garbage.
I'm just gonna start knocking stuff over.
Yeah, go ahead and kick over the fire, like the big. What do you even call these things?
These are like heat lamps, but
Yeah.
they have the one that I'm sitting next to has this exposed like gas line,
So the episode ends abruptly.
which I've kicked a couple times. So if you're gonna come to this bar, like watch yourself. You don't want the end of your evening to be the bar exploding.
Right. If you turn on KTVU and see a building top exploding a la Die Hard, you'll know what happened. But anyway, so it's the roof of Lolinda, which Lolinda is the restaurant downstairs, which is, I guess, an Argentinian steakhouse.
Wow.
So Nicole Kalisic would probably hate us for coming here.
Right, exactly.
Since he's such a
We're
non-fan of
We're the
Argentinians.
Bolivian steakhouses, huh?
I think, I don't know. I'm not quick enough to come up with a suitable racist Bolivian joke.
You mean you don't have like a bunch of like Bolivian material in your comedy catalog?
I don't. If I'm ever heckled by Bolivians, I'm in real trouble.
It'll be like, nice hat.
Right. Let's just assume you're Mexican for a second.
So play that wind flute. I don't know.
And that's like Peru or something like that.
Sorry. I'm just insulting people left and right.
I think all I know about Bolivia is that it's landlocked. Like, so screw you, landlocked Bolivians.
That's all you need. How's the Navy coming, Bolivia? All right, so this bar used to be called Medjool.
Yes, it used to be a Middle Eastern restaurant and bar, I guess, like Medjool. And yeah, I mean, like it was quite the. I mean, like the great thing about this particular spot, I mean, the rooftop anyway, is that it has one of the best views in the entire city.
Yeah, I'm surprised that there's not more bars like at the top of buildings in especially in the Mission, because it's like just an amazing view up here.
Right. I mean, you look one direction, you got the complete downtown skyline. You can look over to like Twin Peaks in like one way, and then down to wherever, Daly City or something.
It's like Bernal Heights, I believe. But you can also see like the fog crawling over Twin Peaks and on its way. It's like really hot right now, but you can tell it's going to get really cold. Like it's going to be a swing of like maybe 15 degrees, maybe 20 degrees.
I would say most days you're probably going to need a light jacket here.
Yep. And the view up here is amazing. Now, let's talk about Medjool a little bit. Like, when it first opened up, everyone was like, oh, this is great. It's a rooftop bar, and, it's got this beautiful view. But it soon kind of got taken over, like, down at, like, Foreign Cinema. Foreign Cinema is, like, more like like, rich people.
Yeah.
This Medjool became the home of the douchebag.
Right, like it definitely sort of attracted I don't even know how to describe it, sort of like a Jersey trash kind of vibe, where it's like,
I don't know
like,
if it's
like you got sort of like not even like really like clubby types or anything like that, but just sort of like like it became the place for assholes to hang out.
Yeah, you could tell like maybe once or twice there was somebody who was really upset that there was no bottle service here.
Right. They're like, I've been here 2 hours and I haven't seen Tila Tequila walking around. It's like,
and in fact, like I'm not just like saying, it's not just my opinion that it was a very douchey bar.
oh, yeah, you have facts to back this up.
This is science, goddammit. There is a local website called eater.com, and they're actually in a lot of cities, but eater.com had a poll for what is the douchiest bar in all of San Francisco. And when you think of douchey bars in San Francisco, what do you think of first?
Oh, gosh.
Let me answer.
Okay, go ahead.
You're not supposed to answer.
Oh, I'm sorry. It's rhetorical. I'm like, give me 20 minutes.
You think of the Marina, right?
Yes.
Or like Snob Hill or something.
Thank you for answering my question.
Exactly. Let me read your mind.
Yes.
And it was kind of a huge coup that a Mission bar, like,
Right. The plucky upstart Mission said,
stormed the castle of the douchiest bars and took away the crown.
exactly.
And but there were a bunch of like Mission bars, Marina bars on there. But I want to go over some of the
See, I would say, I mean, like while you're looking those up, I would say that the list, I think that almost it doesn't invalidate the list, but I think it calls it into question. That like number 1 should have been like a 20-way tie with every like bar in the marina. Then you can go to like number 2 and say like it's like just sort of like like cast your pall over the whole neighborhood.
Well, it was done by votes.
Oh,
So,
okay. Well.
like it's like the People's Choice, but the Douche's Choice Awards. And okay, so Medjool won first,
Right.
and then the second bar was a marina bar called the Matrix.
Okay.
And I've never been there, but somebody explained to me that they have in the middle of the bar they have like tables
Right.
that if you were like to look at it from above, like it spells out the word sex.
Rad, dude.
Yeah. Probably a lot of people throwing their rotator cuff out like high-fiving each other. And the next bar was Americano, which
one that I
is
haven't heard of.
which is like on the Embarcadero.
Okay.
It's like down by the ferry building. And I used to work down by there, and every year when the weather got bad, they would put up this like clear tent. So all like the douchebags who got off work could go in there, and we used to call it the douchebag terrarium.
Nice.
And okay, let me just go over a couple more. That was number 3. Number 4 was
Number 4.
the Redwood Room. I don't know.
The Redwood Room. That sounds familiar.
On Geary. I don't know what that is. Number 5 is Zeitgeist. So,
No way.
Not to sort of blow my own horn when I went on that drunken tirade about how much I hate Zeitgeist.
Well, you're not flexible enough to do that anyway.
Well, I'm pretty flexible. And then number 6 is Bar None, which is on Union Street. It's another marina bar.
Yes. And indeed, douchey.
Number 7 was Bruno's, which is right down the street from here.
Oh, wow.
So Mission represent.
Yeah, no
You
shit.
know, like we had Medjool, we had Bruno's, and we had Zeitgeist.
See, I can come up with douchier mission bars, I think. I mean, like, Skylark's up there.
That's a pretty douchey bar.
Yeah, completely. I think, like, the bus stop in the marina, the final,
Oh, yeah.
is horrid. Like,
Beauty Bar came in at number 8.
Beauty bar, I think I've only been to once, but I can
That's a
I
mission
can
bar as
testify
well.
that's sort of douchey.
You know what? I'm not going to go there. I'm going to stand up for the Beauty Bar. It's
Yeah, you might be right. I was going to say, like, I was there one night when there was a DJ there, and it was a good DJ, so, like, they get points for that.
And I know a lot of people who are listening who live in North Beach are like, wait a minute, this doesn't make any sense. When you're like that high draft pick that's like waiting to get called, like where are our bars?
Exactly.
Number 9, Kells in North Beach.
Although, I mean, Kells, now the basement is the new home of the Purple Onion, so maybe they're trying to sort of make it semi.
You're like, you know what will make this less douchey? Comedians.
Exactly.
Number 10 was California Wine Merchant. That's on Chestnut. Number 11 was Circa. That's on Chestnut as well.
Chestnut really representing that.
Yeah.
Like, I would say the Rick House qualifies.
Number 12 is Supper Club on Harrison, like Soma.
Okay.
Number 13, Blondies in the Mission.
Wow. I see.
I'd go there. Yeah, I'd go there.
Yeah.
Yep.
I mean, like, I don't think of that place as being douchey so much as just like people buying Coke.
Well, that is true. Number 14 was The Lookout, and this is our first representative from the Castro.
Oh, wow.
And I remember reading the review in this. It said that like, oh, just because it's a gay bar doesn't mean it can't be douchey. And like, yeah, they're totally right. Like, at The Lookout has this like sort of patio perch like on the second floor, and guys are just sort of screaming at like good-looking guys. So it's basically.
So I want to say that I saw The Lookout and like Badlands on many lists of like the best gay bars in San Francisco. So maybe it just all depends on what you're looking for, so to speak.
Now here's one that's going to call that really bother you. Number 15, The Tempest.
Wow.
Yeah.
See, that's not fair.
Now that's as far as it goes. But that bar, I can kind of understand like what they're talking about. It's like people, like the bike messengers who go there can be kind of douchey, and like if you're not a bike messenger, you're kind of an ass. Like you're just like not in with the crowd.
Yeah.
But I love that bar.
Yeah, totally.
So eater can eat it. Bam. Woohoo! All right, you ready to take a break?
Sure. Let's take in the view for a while and come back.
we're gonna come back from, what is it called again?
El TechoDeLolinda.
It's like you need to have like a mustache to twirl while you're saying that. All right, we'll be back. And we're back. SFBarkast.
Hello.
On the roof.
On the roof. The Techo, if you will.
The Techo.
DeLolinda.
DeLolinda.
Muy bien.
It's getting a little windy up here.
It is. I mean, you can sort of expect that. You know what? One of the things that I like that they did since the Medjool closed and this place opened, they put up all these glass sort of barriers to make it a little less windy.
Yeah, it's like they're basically there to sort of like, you know, block like the strong winds coming through. But you know what? It's not really working.
Not really. And they also have a sort of like a tent or like a, you know, whatever you'd call that.
It's a terrarium.
A
deuce terrarium.
So even if it's raining, you could probably still come up here. And
this is one of the things I'll say about this bar is, like, in the 20 minutes that we've been here, I've had to take my jacket off and put it on numerous times because when the fog rolls over, then it's cold, and then like the fog breaks, and then suddenly it's warm and it's like super hot.
Now, I don't think I'm exaggerating at all when I say that sounds worse than the Crusades.
Exactly. I mean, there have been a lot of people oppressed in this world, but so now I know what they feel like.
Exactly. Nelson Mandela, I'm right there with you, buddy.
Exactly. Can you imagine if he was uncomfortable when he was in prison?
Exactly.
So I just got back from the South.
Yes, you did.
And I just want to give a little bit of props to you, my podcast cohort, that I've talked to some people about this, and I felt really bad about this. After we did the Riptide, you were going to take me to the airport, and
it was going to be so convenient because there we were in the lower outer Sunset, a hop, skip, and a jump away from beautiful SFO airport.
And it was also the BART strike.
True.
Like, the BART strike only lasted like 3 days, but like unfortunately, I had to go to the airport for one of them.
Right.
So you were kind enough to, after the Riptide Barcast, to take me to the airport, and I got to the airport and I realized I'm at the wrong fucking airport. Now, I felt like horrible about this, but like you told me this has happened to you before, and other people I talked to, they're like, oh yeah, I've done that. Right. We're supposed to be at LaGuardia and I'm at JFK.
Right.
But I still felt terrible about it, and I was like, you know what, I'm gonna miss my flight, and I called US Air. Never fly US Air, by the way.
Little plug.
A little reverse plug.
Right.
And they said, well, okay, well, if you don't make your flight, we're going to charge you $200 to change your flight, and then you're going to have to pay on top of that whatever the difference
you have to,
is.
Wait 2 days or whatever.
Yeah, and then I know I got one of the cheapest flights right around what do you call it? July 4th.
Right.
So we take off. It doesn't look good, and I just want to let you know that I really appreciate you did sometimes it comes in handy that you're a fucking ninja, and you got me to the airport with 15 minutes to go, and I still almost missed my flight.
We only killed 2 or 3 people on the way.
By the way, this is how US Air works. I got there 15 minutes before my flight. Oakland Airport is empty, right? And so I go to get my boarding pass, and it says you can't print it up. You have to talk to an agent. So I just looked. There's a guy standing right there. I was like, hey, man, I can't print my boarding pass. And he's like, oh, you missed your flight. I'm like, really? He's like, yeah, you're supposed to be here 30 minutes before the flight. And I was like, well, look, man, there's nobody here. I got 15 minutes. If we boogie, we can make it. And he's like, nope, you missed your flight. This is how US Air does business.
Right.
Okay?
Well, did you have his hand out waiting for a 20 or something? Or
right. And I just looked at him and I was like, well, can you check? And he's like, ugh. Like he's giving me... Like, your job is to help people.
I was already busy doing nothing. And
right, yeah,
now
exactly.
I'm going to have to do something?
And I actually had this, thought that, this guy was being such a dick to me that I have this impression that, I'm just, baseball mentality where it's like, well, if this guy's not going to work with me, I'm going to get my money's worth and give him a whole load of shit. So I was, standing there thinking...
Charge the mound.
Should I tell this guy what a fucking asshole he is? And I was thinking, yeah, maybe I should. And I was just about to...
listing them all off in your head. Okay, first I'm going to tell him he's an asshole.
Right, yeah, exactly. And then I'm going to talk about his mother.
Right. And he's going to try to run. I'm going to have to tackle him. And I'm going to go to jail.
I'm going to be in airport jail.
I'm going to be branded a quote-unquote terrorist.
So I was thinking that was still, the wheels in my mind were going like that. And then the guy just goes, ugh. And he, picks up the phone and he calls the gate. And the guy's, and he looks at me and goes, it's your lucky day. It's late, deboarding. And I was just like, okay, thank you, dude. And I just like walked away like with like the worst like customer service. I mean, like I understand it's my fault for being there late,
Right.
but there was a BART strike, and I'm stupid. But we could have. I made it easily. I had to wait to get on the fucking plane.
Well, and
so why don't you
it
just
should
like
have been.
do your job, call down there, and stuff back? And there's nobody there. He's
Right.
not doing anything. He's like playing video games.
Well, it's like what the sequence of events should have been, and should be for like most of airline employees, you would think, is like, well, let's see if it's on time first,
Right.
and then I can tell you whether or not you'll make it. You know, it's like to just be like, yeah, well, it was, it's not leaving for 4 hours, but you're supposed to be here half an hour before it's scheduled to leave, so screw you.
It's like, am I interrupting you? Texting your fucking buddies? Anyway.
So you went when you say the South, where do you mean?
I went to the Carolinas. Flew into Charlotte, and then I drove down to Charleston, South Carolina, which is a very charming town.
According to Jim Taylor, that's it's hard to get that out of your head.
What is that?
The Carolinas on your mind?
Oh, James Taylor.
Yeah, Jim Taylor. I call him Jim.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Jimbo to his buddies.
Going to Carolina in my mind. Yes, and Charleston's a very charming town, hometown of Stephen Colbert.
Ah, very nice.
And my only take about the South is that everything's very slow there, and I have to sort of adjust. You know, just like doing anything, like, buying a stick of gum. People are
Right.
just like, well, they're talking to you, hey, how you doing? I'm like, oh, what the fuck?
Gum, eh?
I remember gum.
It's like, hey, Skeeter, this guy's buying gum. What was that story you told me about gum last week?
Well, la-dee-da, Mr. College Boy, and your gum.
Ooh, flavored gum, city boy.
One of the things I will say about Charleston is I read one of those listicles, like an list articles,
Okay.
and it's one of those like stupid, like, arbitrary articles, but they were counting down the most attractive cities for people.
Okay.
And Charleston, South Carolina was number one, and I got to say they're onto something there.
Oh, nice.
Very attractive people in Charleston, South Carolina. Of course, you have a lot of like American tourists
Right.
who are like overweight and wearing shorts, but then there's like a lot
But you've
of
been to Las Vegas before, so you've seen
yeah,
lots of that.
exactly. But there's a lot of young, attractive people in South Carolina. So my hat and my pants go off to you.
And plus there's the added bonus that they're all racists.
Well, you never know. Like.
Excellent.
I actually went to the only national park in South Carolina,
Really?
and it is basically a swamp. I mean, seriously, somebody like looked at the swamp and said, "We gotta preserve this."
Well, they probably said we need a national park of some kind, and they're like, "What's the least offensive-looking thing ever?"
Yeah, we're doing all right. And it's called like Kongagee or Conagee National Park. I can't remember, but like. It is a total swamp, and I made this complete mistake where they said, like, make sure to bring some insect repellent because it's a swamp. And I was like, fuck that. They have no idea who the fuck they're talking to.
Fucking insects avoid me naturally.
Yeah, and so I get there, and you will... In California, we don't have a whole lot of, like, insects like mosquitoes and such, and they just swarmed me.
Wow.
And to the point that I was just like, I had to start running. I'm on like this boardwalk and I'm running to get away from these insects. And then I remembered that I don't know if it's the true for like mosquitoes or other insects, but I know that bees can see infrared like spectrum, which means that like I'm running, I'm getting hotter, so I'm basically like making myself glow to the insects and like telling them where I am.
To all the mosquitoes, you look like it looks like a Terminator vision or something.
Yeah, exactly.
We have a target.
I mean, the only good thing, I think I saw a mosquito bite me and then like promptly die of like I assume was like alcohol poisoning.
Excellent.
Take that, Nature 0, Jeff 1.
I'm sure that there was probably like a couple of like the park rangers or whatever like that, like looking in and you'd be like, check out the California boy, like he's gonna get eaten alive.
Yeah, it was just like, shut up, you toothless assholes. I like the South, though. I had a really great time. Went to Winston-Salem, which is confusing because I don't like the cities that have two names.
Especially when they're both cigarettes.
Yeah, Winston-Salem. Everybody smokes down there, too, yeah.
Oh, I can imagine.
And, but I love the South. I love going down there. Did like a week-long road trip and just Met a lot of nice people. Everybody down in the South's really nice.
Do you have any like Carolina barbecue or anything like that?
Nope.
All right.
Somebody actually texted me and said, like, you should get some North Carolina style barbecue. I was like, man, why would I do that?
I think it's just like I want to say like Carolina barbecue is like a mustard sauce or something like that, which like fuck that shit.
You know what? Right now you are infuriating a couple like listeners out there because there's very specific Carolina barbecue rules.
Oh, is there?
And I don't know what they are. But they're out there, okay? It's like, confusing like an Australian and a New Zealander. They'll kick your ass for that.
Oh, yeah, exactly. Well, that's terrible.
Are you ready to take a break?
Well, before we do, I just want to say that...
no. Answer the question.
I just want to say you can take your break and shove it up your ass. But I just want to thank everybody for continued listening, etc., and remind you that to leave us a nice review on iTunes or whatever, and
if you suggest a bar, we'll go there. Exactly.
You know what? If it's in the San Francisco city limits, we'll definitely go there. If it's outside of the San Francisco limits, we'll probably go there.
We'll probably go there as well.
So like we're ready to do your bidding. Goddammit.
Do your baddest. Like find the shadiest bar at Hunters Point.
They're like, I don't like this show. I want these guys to die. Like, find some bar that's just like, like Apartment C in Oakland is one I can think of where I drive by and I'm like, I'm never going in there.
That's a lot of like power we're giving our listeners.
I suppose you're right. Well, I think that they've earned it and they're responsible enough to handle it.
Yes, they have earned it if they put up with us.
Exactly.
All right,
we can take a break now.
We'll be back.
Carolina, she's from Texas. Red bricks drop from her vagina. Oh, her lips taste just like sunk ships, but her breasts taste just like breakfast. There's her hand now on the cocksock filled with white tears from the thrift store. She's an eyesore in her red dress. I'm the ghost of her deceased when she said, give us back our lives, leave him Carolina, everything's just fine, refill my prescription until next time.
All right, and we are back. SFBarkast on the roof.
Buenos noches.
Up on the roof.
El TechoDeLolinda. Lolindo. Lolinda.
Lolinda.
Yeah.
So let me tell you, when I was away in the South, I was checking the sports scores as I was away, and it seems like every time I checked, the A's were winning and the Giants were losing.
That seems to be just about summing it up. Very beautiful.
What is happening to the Giants? Now, I was away for a little while, but someone told me they lost something like 14 of 15.
That's terrible.
Inexcusable, and very inexcusable for a team that won the World Series last year.
Yeah, I would say so.
They didn't change too many people. They lost like Victorino.
Yeah.
And not a whole lot of other people, did they?
I don't know. Maybe did the big panda just get too fat?
No, it had too much limon.
Could be.
But the A's are doing very well.
They're doing very well. And you are, of course, a writer for OakRage.com.
OakRage.com, yes. I am the writer of OakRage.com.
Well, you shouldn't give that away. You should be like, I manage a staff of writers.
Exactly. I have a lot of people underneath me because I live on the top floor. But the one thing I was writing about this morning is the A's, who are in first place in the AL West.
Right.
They only got one person in the All-Star game, and it was Bartolo Colon.
That is ridiculous.
And he's not going to be allowed to pitch in the game because in the most recent collective bargaining agreement with the Players Association, if you pitch on Sunday and you're in the All-Star game, you are not allowed to pitch on Tuesday when the All-Star game's on. And that basically means effectively there will be zero A's in the All-Star game.
And it's not even
and they're in first place.
Yeah, and it's not even that they're just in first place in the AL West. They sort of go back and forth with the Red Sox and maybe the Pirates or something as having the best record in the entire league. Right?
In the AL, they have the second best record in the league,
Right.
and it's right behind the Red Sox, and I believe it's like the Pirates of the Cardinals who are like above both of those two teams. But in the AL, in their own league, they're the second best record.
That's
so
ridiculous.
like, basically, you're going to see an All-Star game without anybody from a division leader.
Right. But I'm sure you'll see tons of Dodgers and Angels because
my God.
they're both such dominant teams.
Also, the Giants, who are in last place,
Right.
have 3 All-Stars, and
Naturally.
the A's in first place have 0 All-Stars. So, whatever. I don't know if I'll even watch it this year.
Just give up on it.
Yeah, it's really, who cares? But all I was saying is that this is really bad for ESPN because that means they're going to have to wait until the the postseason
Right.
to learn the names of all the A's players. By that time, it's going to be a little too late for them.
Well, the other sort of big-ish story that's been going on is Dwight Howard, and where is he going to go for the
This is,
50th
by the way,
time?
this is the sports report.
This
Sports
is- yeah,
reporters.
so-
I feel like we should be
Most of our listeners, I think, will probably just fast forward past this part.
chewing on wet cigars.
Exactly. Well, there's this kid.
So this kid, Dwight Howard.
But yeah, so we had to put up with that bullshit again. Like, we thought it was over when he went from Orlando to the Lakers, last year, but we got treated to it again. Of like, where will, someone who clearly thinks they're the most important person in basketball history, like, where will he end up going?
Because
And
I
he
was
went to the Rockets.
They went to the Rockets. And because I was driving around last week a lot, I was listening to a lot of sports radio, and people were having a lot of fun with his name. They were calling him Dwight Mayor Howard,
Dwight Mayer?
like Nightmare,
That's a stretch.
and they were also calling him Dwight Coward
Oh, hilarious.
because he must be afraid of like being on a fucking 8th seeded playoff team.
Right. Not sure why people in Carolina would even care.
I mean, I have a couple friends who are Laker fans, and I'm sure they're totally fucking fine with Howard not being on the Lakers.
Yeah, I think that he was not a very popular member of that team.
It's like one of those things. I know, we live on the West Coast, so ESPN has a reputation for not covering West Coast stuff that much, but that is. I mean, even though he's doing the LA thing, that just dominated so much ESPN coverage.
Yeah,
And today, I guess Derek Jeter sprained his ankle, and they're going straight to the press conference. The guy, I understand he's a great Hall of Fame player,
Right.
but it's just every single
or at least
thing.
he was 3 years ago.
Everything he does now, people are just oh my god, we have to ESPN's we have to check out what Jeter's doing.
Right. Well, speaking of baseball too, something really raised my dander, if you will.
Whoa!
Excuse me, I'm sorry. I'll try to back off of that.
Let's not say stuff we can't take back later,
Please,
Andrew.
All right, I understand. But in a segment on Pardon the Interruption with Tony Kornheiser and our buddy Mike Wilbon,
Mike Wilwrong.
they did this entire story about Ryan Braun and steroids and how everything's in question and none of the records really matter, and if this guy from Baltimore breaks 61, is that the new record, and etc. blah blah blah. And the very next story they do is about Yasi Puig or whatever that guy's name is.
The guy for the Dodgers.
And they cut to here's hitting coach Mark McGwire telling him what to do or whatever, and all I can think of is if Mark McGwire basically destroyed the game, why is he still hired as a coach for that? Why isn't he persona non grata in baseball?
Right now, if Barry Bonds was listening to our podcast, he'd be like, "Fuck yeah, Andrew." He's like, "How come I take all this shit?"
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I mean, well,
At least Sammy Sosa had the sort of good sense to just disappear.
the thing about the steroids and stuff, I feel like the league has learned that they can survive that. None of those guys. Some of those guys, they're getting kind of punished after the fact for taking steroids.
Right.
But they, people in the league know that it raised all the ratings. And
made everybody, including them, tons and tons of money.
compared to gambling, compare it to what happened to Pete Rose. People know gambling is the poison pill. For any league, you have to you have to like stomp that out like a narc at a biker rally.
Right.
And but the steroids, they're trying to figure out ways, because like they're basically going after like Brian Braun, who won the MVP last year.
Right.
And like they're doing a pretty, like, they know that they can survive
Yeah.
after this.
Which is kind of ridiculous, because I mean, if you think about it, I mean, like, the same problems that exist with, like, you know, with gambling on games exist with steroids. Basically, there are people that are going to have inside information, i.e., like the guy that gave so and so the steroids. He knows that guy's going to probably have a better season, like, as a result. So he can make money off of that.
That's true, but you know, from the league's perspective, if people get a sniff of that maybe games are fixed, like it's like wrestling,
Yeah.
then all of your integrity goes out the window, and
Oh, yeah.
then suddenly, like, nobody, I mean, that is going to like destroy the league. And
Right.
like sports in general is such a huge cash cow now.
Oh yeah.
You know,
It's all garbage.
it's all garbage.
The only thing I watch is women's tennis.
I'm just happy that Aaron Hernandez is in the news again, so we can talk about football.
Exactly. I think there was another Patriot that got arrested today or something.
Yeah, he's
like
a DUI.
that. Yeah, well,
Whatever, we've all
Yeah,
been
that's-
there.
Like, that's like that it doesn't even like show up on the radar anymore. It's like you're like, oh yeah, this guy, like, all he did was beat up his girlfriend and like run a few red lights.
Yeah, it's like
He didn't murder anybody.
he didn't like execute 3 people.
Exactly. He didn't, like, cold-bloodedly take somebody out to a fucking like quarry and like blow his head off.
You know, I grew up in New England and going to like Patriots games, and if you asked me, and I know a lot about sports, if you asked me which athlete in sports I would have said would have killed someone by now, I would definitely go with Adrian Beltre, and Aaron Hernandez would be way down the list. I
Right.
just like had no idea, but
So I would have said, Beltre is a good answer. I might have gone with Roger Clemens or just, somebody like that.
yeah, any of those like steroid guys.
Anybody from Texas?
Anybody I don't like.
Yeah, pretty much.
All right, you ready to take another break?
We could do that, sure.
Let's take a break, and then we'll come back. We'll do some plugs, and we'll talk about the bar.
Woo-hoo.
All right, and we are back on
Hello.
the rooftop in the Mission.
El TechoDeLolinda.
I love it when you do that. Now, the people who like have gone over, like skipped over the sports section,
Okay.
like now they're back.
Yeah, right.
So we're glad to have you back.
We'll put like a loud noise in between that segment and this, so if you're skipping through, like you'll hear like an air horn or something like that, and like you'll
glad-
know where to stop.
Glad to have you back, Drew Harmon and Jim Cotter.
It's like, wake up. Oh, hey. So anyway, like there's a theory that I heard the other day. I love all time travel theories and like stuff like that. And this one, I thought had a funny twist to it.
Are we going to talk about time travel now?
I just went in the future and told you that yes,
I had a premonition.
exactly. But and I forget who it was that like posited this whole theory, but like I constantly think of it now as one of the more brilliant things, because people are always saying that that time travel will never be discovered, because if it had, we would be visited by people from the future already.
Right.
So we know that it'll never get invented. But of course, like my thought about that is always, well, what if we live in the dullest time ever that like no one would ever come visit?
That's true.
Like, it's like, and an example of this would be most people, like, when they start talking about, if I had a time machine, Hitler comes up. And they're like, would you kill Hitler with a time machine? Like, that's and like if you think of like all of the just think of like every Jew in the future like is
a Jew future? Jufer?
Jucher, if you will, and even like even sympathetic non-Jews that would like to kill Hitler, they're all going to like travel back to the 1920s or 10s or whatever like that and kill Hitler. But what this means is that Hitler, when he's growing up, will constantly be besieged by people trying to kill him, and they will all be Jews. And,
So therefore,
and therefore
he's going to be mad at them.
Exactly, and so like, and that's what actually causes him to do the whole Holocaust, is all of these goddamn Jews that are constantly trying to kill him.
Why are all these Jews trying to kill me?
Exactly. That's what he's saying. Is like, he's constantly saying, God, like I can't go outside and get a bagel like without some Jew like trying to take a shot at me.
I mean, and also like. This is kind of like well, I guess like Hitler's a pretty good candidate to go back and kill, but like also like Stalin starved a bunch of his people, like 30 million of his people. Mao starved a bunch of his people.
But who's to say those aren't all time travelers?
What about Nero? Why don't you go back in time and kill like the baddest Tyrannosaurus Rex, who just like killed the most dinosaurs?
Well, who's to say that like every genocide that's ever happened wasn't just killing people that time traveled there to kill them? So it was like, so you have this cycle of self-defense that comes across as genocide, but it's really just them looking out for their own interests.
I forgot to tell the listeners that like 5 minutes ago you were supposed to start smoking pot.
Oh yeah. See, I just made the assumption that everybody was already on board with that.
So here's my take on time travel. I know you brought up time travel and you thought like, well, Jeff probably doesn't want to jump in on his chime in on his time travel theories. One of the things I hate about time travel movies, I love time travel movies, but I hate what they call the grandfather complex or the grandmother complex.
Right.
If you want to like not be such a sexist asshole. And that is like the Back to the Future thing, where if your parents don't go and meet and have you, you will disappear.
Right.
Now, what that supposedly, according to the theoretical physicists I've talked to, that is not the case. Like, you were born in one reality, and if you go back and change reality, you're stuck in a different reality, but you do not disappear.
Right.
Because that would just like that would mean that you could only like stay in, it's only one reality, but like as soon as you change, it's a different reality.
Right.
So mind blown. Okay.
You should actually. We should have probably said that you should add mushrooms into the mix like 5 minutes ago. Yeah, just double fist it with pot and mushrooms.
All right. Well, that kind of brings me up to the plugs. Do you want to do any plugs right now?
We can do plugs, sure.
Okay. Do you have a plug?
No, I mentioned go to iTunes, search Barkast with a K, K-A-S-T. You're
Boring.
listening. You're listening now, so somehow you found it. Leave us some feedback. Go to our page, leave us comments. I don't know, mail us something.
All right. So now I don't have like more basically a plug. I have a review.
Okay.
And my review is of the drug DMT.
Ooh.
And
is this is there a street name for this drug, or?
Well, it's been called the spirit molecule, or the God molecule.
Good Lord!
And
Wait, is this something you can buy on the street, or is this something they just like came up with the other day?
I stayed up last night doing a lot of it.
Oh, jeez. Well,
so I have
that answers that question.
Right. So yes, you can buy it on the street.
So you're a lab scientist, is what you're saying.
Right. Well, actually, I did it with this friend of mine who is has a very scientific mind.
Okay.
And we weren't doing it in a sort of recreational, sort of like, yeah, man, drop out, like.
So you didn't mean like scientific, like Jim Morrison. You mean
Yeah,
like
we weren't sitting around listening to Donovan in the dark. Okay.
That sounds terrible.
But it is a psychedelic drug that you smoke.
Okay.
And it is in nature. It exists mostly in plants, and in fact, you have a lot of it in your brain as well.
Okay.
But so don't ask me how they got it. So I'm smoking your brain.
Right.
So it is a 15-minute sort of like psychedelic trip.
Right.
And I'm gonna actually, after doing it like all last night, I'm gonna give it about a C+. Like
really?
I wasn't overwhelmed. And there's a lot of like information about it online.
See, I mean, like, okay, and if I can critique the people who are putting together this drug and marketing it to impressionable.
It is a substance category. Was a category 1 or substance 1 drug, so it's like the highest like illegal drug.
Oh, it is. Oh,
yeah,
okay.
So it's really bad.
So it's not like
It's not. It's bad for the government. from the government perspective, but
You
it's
can't
like,
buy it like ginkgo biloba or something. Then,
I'm surprised you can't.
okay, but so my advice to them, first of all, the name's all wrong because I mean, like what, the God drug?
Well, DMT, I forget what it's like. It's like LSD. It's got one of those like long like scientific
Yeah.
names, but it's DMT, and it's called the God particle or the spirit molecule.
See, that's
Not the God particle. That's a physics thing. It's
Right.
the God molecule or the spirit molecule.
See, that's you're setting expectations way too high
Yeah.
with that name.
It's like the-
how about like the minor deity particle or something?
Right, exactly. It's like that serial life. It's like,
Right.
how about not being so pretentious, you assholes?
How about a couple days?
Yeah, exactly. Oh, the serial of life? Get the fuck out of here. What is this, a Terrence Malick film?
Exactly.
So, yeah, I did it last night, and actually, like, I had read all about, before I do anything like that, I like to read up on it, and people have...
For at least 5 minutes.
Right, exactly. And of course, like, we started out doing it, just kind of like putting our toes in the water,
Right.
and be kind of like, because we don't know what it's going to do. And then at a certain point, I was just like, this is bullshit. I need to take a man's hit. And
Right.
I took like one of those big Bob Marley hits. And like, yeah, I mean, you see some stuff, you like your perspective, like dimensions and perspectives change, but like, I read about people seeing like little elves and aliens running around, and I was just like, once again, remember I told that story about going to the float matrix and sensory deprivation? I was totally underwhelmed with this
Right.
as well. It's like, I thought I was going to be, seeing like elves and aliens, and all I saw was like maybe a little depth perception wonkiness,
So would you? I mean, like, so definitely not as interesting or crippling as something like acid, or.
Well, this is what I'll say, and actually Drew Harmon brought this up on his last Checopedia.
I thought you were about to
podcast.
say Drew Harmon bought it
Well, no, and brought it over.
let's
Yeah,
just bring him into this.
Don't tell his wife, but Drew Harmon's really into DMT.
He's like he's the DMT king of San Francisco at this point.
But Drew brought up his problem always with acid. I don't think he's ever done acid, but he said his problem is that even if you do some of these stereotypical things, like you sync up Pink Floyd's Dark Side of the Moon to Wizard of
shit or whatever.
The Wizard of Oz,
Right.
and it's over. That's 2 hours, and you have another 6 or 7 hours of acid.
I would say that. I mean, that's having accidentally done acid in the past. I would say
Are
that
you wearing a wire?
I would say that that's a somewhat valid point, because you really do have to set a large amount of time aside.
Well, this is what I'll say
to do
about
acid.
DMT. It is great training wheels for people who have that problem because it only lasts for 15 minutes. And to be completely honest, I was told 15 minutes, and I feel like I got gypped.
Really?
It was maybe 7 minutes of sort of psychedelic.
So it's
sort of feeling.
somewhere more than whippets, but less than pot or something.
But in contrast to whippets, it's like whippets just kind of scramble your brain. Remember I was talking
Yeah.
about ketamine?
I mean, so I hear.
Remember I was talking about ketamine? That just basically scrambles your brain. You can't tie your shoes.
Right.
It's not like that at all. I mean, you there's no hangover. You don't stay up. You can go to sleep. It's totally fine. It's a very very natural drug.
Right.
But it's just not as intense as I kind of hoped it would be. So
Especially with that name, for Christ's sake.
I really thought, I was like, oh yeah, let's because people have said that they've seen little beings. In fact, I was reading about it today, and there's some scientists who seem to think that it's in part of your brain, and for people who have near-death experiences, they think that there's a release of DMT in your brain, and that's what causes people to think that they see a brilliant white light, or they see their dead relatives or some shit like that.
So that's where the name comes from, maybe the people saying I'm going to heaven or seeing God or whatever.
Yeah, exactly. And that's people are thinking, and they think that actually has something to do with your dream state. And actually, I did have some pretty intense dreams when I fell asleep.
Right.
But honestly, I was pretty underwhelmed.
So if you ever God forbid, you're like hit by a truck or something like that, and you go out for a while, you're probably going to be really underwhelmed by the.
Yeah, well,
you're gonna be like, oh, tunnel of light, big fucking deal.
Honestly, for me, like, yeah, like if I'm like close to death and like my brain is releasing all this DMT in my system, I'll be like, oh, this bullshit again.
Boring.
Oh, boring.
You got anything harder? God.
Right, exactly. But I don't know if initially it was like so
synthesized
so it could be used in therapy, and that's a very actually true of like LSD as well.
Right.
The guy who did synthesize another IPA. Yeah. The guy who synthesized LSD, the waitress just came around. I'm like, LSD is like, yeah, I'll have another drink, please. So I think his name was Holland. He was a Swiss scientist. He did the first, he synthesized LSD for the first time, and he did it accidentally because he got some of it on his hands, and then went on a bike ride home. It's like seeing all these fucking colors.
Right.
In like 1938. But one of his problems with the entire LSD and like Timothy Leary and that whole sort of psychedelic movement is like he hated those guys because his whole point, like LSD was supposed to be synthesized for like scientific and reasons. Like it was good for like post-traumatic stress disorder. It was supposed to like be very helpful in curbing people's like people who are alcoholics will do like some acid and then just stop drinking. Because they're high as fuck.
Yeah, exactly. That's good to say. Like that's a really great drink treatment.
You know why? Because it's hard to twist off a bottle cap when you're fucking tripping balls.
Like my alcohol problem was about to cost me my job, but I just started taking acid, and like I don't really care about my drinking problem anymore.
So there you go. I'm here to help people out there, and if they think that's something they might want to do, like, don't be afraid. It's not a problem. Like, you could take a man hit of that and then just be like, all right, whatever, fine. I'm gonna go watch television.
You'd be responsible for like deaths across the country. Like,
it is one of those things though. Like, you can't do it. Like, it's not like some drugs where you do socially. They're like, oh, I'm gonna like fucking take some DMT and play pinball.
Right.
So then you'd be like, fucking trolls.
Right.
But. Like, it's something you do, you sit on the couch and you just kind of zone out.
Maybe that was like the issue with the US Airways guys. Maybe he like took a hit of that. He needed to wait 15 minutes.
I wish I had it on me. I'd be like, hey, look, man, you missed your flight. I'd be like, hey, babe, smoke a little of this. Oh, man, your flight's not taking off for a while.
I can only imagine. I mean, like talking about that Swiss scientist or whatever like that, like, that had to be like the most terrifying bike ride ever because like A, no one's ever done it before, and B, you don't know if like you don't know if this is just going to be permanent for you.
Well, I feel like that's like an anxiety that a lot of people have with psychedelics. That like, oh my god, what if I never come out of this? Don't worry, you're fucking coming out of it. Like,
right, but if you just created this thing and you have no idea what it actually does, and you realize, oh shit, you know what? I just accidentally ingested some of that stuff. Like, I'm either going to like have fun for a little bit or I'm going to die.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like that if you're doing something like ecstasy or mushrooms, I feel like what you have to do is you have to kind of like let go a lot of that anxiety and just be like, okay, I'm on a heavy drug,
right,
and now that's the way it is. I mean, and it affects different people differently because like the guy I did DMT with last night, he just giggled his fucking head off, and I was just kind of like, this is bullshit.
You were the one like bringing him down because like, he's
exactly,
like, this is awesome, and you're like, this sucks.
I know, like he's like having a good time, and I'm like some pitchfork reviewer. It's like, this is a derivative.
Exactly. Oh boy, like go drop acid with twins and like come back and talk to me.
This is over. DMT is over. All right, so I think I'm through talking about like mind-blowing drugs. All right, let's take a break and we'll come back and we'll wrap this up. Talk about the bar. But you know, actually, let me say like one of my phrases I like to use, and I use a lot. Like, we'll land this plane, and I have to like scale that back because there was like a plane crash in San Francisco.
But you know what? It's already it's already there's been enough time. I think everybody knows tragedy plus time equals comedy.
We can laugh about it.
So it's almost hilarious at this point.
Speaking of hilarious, like tragedy and hilarity, didn't you read something about?
Yeah, well, there is, and I don't know if this is beyond rumor or anything like that, but there was.
So if people don't know, there was a Korean Airlines flight that crashed in San Francisco.
Indeed, and and basically, I guess like a couple, like 2 people died, and then there were a lot of injuries and everything like that. But like the 2 people that died were actually like thrown from the plane,
yeah, it looked like the roof of the fuselage came off.
Well, I think the tail came off.
Oh, okay.
And then I think the rest of it caught on fire and burned out the roof or something like that.
Shoot, it's amazing that only 2 people died.
Oh, no, yeah,
amazing,
it's incredible. But like, but apparently, and there was a report that that one of the bodies that like flew out of the plane was run over by one of the like fire trucks coming to put out the plane fire.
And, that person's like, "This is not my day."
Exactly. But like, all I could think of was like the next day at like training for these guys, where we'd be like, we ask very little of you guys. Like, there are 3 things that you need to know. 1, if there is a plane crash, drive to the plane, turn on the fire hose, and here's the important part: don't run over any bodies on your way.
Okay, now does somebody want to come up to the board here and say, do you check one of these boxes? Do you run over people on the on the runway, or do you not run over people on the runway? Okay.
Check 1 to 10. 1 is strongly agree, and 10 is disagree. I should run over people on the way to the...
I honestly, like, I was in Myrtle Beach when that happened. I was watching it on television, and I just was amazed that, like, they said there were 60 people unaccounted for, and I was like, holy shit. Like, that means, I mean, to me, that meant, like, 60 people are dead. But, like, that, I was told that, like, no, I meant that, like, they just don't, they probably went to SF General. And I'm amazed there was only 2 people.
Either that or they were hiding or something.
Yeah.
They're playing a joke on the people counting the bodies.
Hiding behind the luggage? Oh, that's so... This is not the time.
We're all dead. It's going to be hilarious.
This is not the time for jokes, sir. All right, so let's take a break, and then we will come back and safely land this plane.
We'll come back and put this thing on the moon.
SFBarkast. And we are back. SFBarkast on the roof.
On the roof. Oh, El TechoDeLolinda.
You could be on wild or crazy Mexican television. You could be on Univision. You could be on Telemundo.
Telemundo, indeed. Like Sábado Gigante.
Oh, that's the greatest show of all time. Those people are light years ahead of us. You know that, right? All you have to do is like look at their like weather girls. So, what do you think about this bar?
You know what? Like, I mean, I remember going to the former Medjool and like and thinking it was, you know, it seemed a little pretentious. I wasn't really like here for when it sort of like slid into huge douchedom or anything like that. But I like it. I like what they've done to it. I hear good things about the restaurant downstairs. Like it's a steakhouse. Like it's supposed to be good.
What's the nationality of the steakhouse?
Like Argentinian?
Argentine? I don't know.
Whatever.
Oh, I insisted. There's a word, Argentine.
You say Argent tomato, I say Argent tomato.
You know what? Yeah, I am kind of pleasantly surprised. We're here at like 5:30 in the afternoon, and it's not that crowded. It's a beautiful view, and
Definitely.
I just, like expected the worst.
Yeah.
Maybe like that's the thing. Like I have like really low expectations. I'm like, this is gonna suck. It's the douchiest bar in San Francisco, and it's not.
Yeah.
I mean, it's actually very nice and very comfortable, and it's got a beautiful view. So
yeah.
if you get here, I mean, like I don't know what it's going to be like later tonight.
Yeah.
One of the times I came here when it was Medjool, like people were somewhat friendly, but like and people like you didn't want to like associate with. Like, people were just like some coked up guy who's like, hey, you want to take some ecstasy? It's like, no, dude. And there's none of that here.
Right.
At least now there isn't.
Like, hey, you want to get all beaked out and go to a strip club?
Yeah, exactly. Hey, how do you like my striped shirt?
So what do you think of the? You ordered. You switched to beer since, but what do you think of? They have an extensive cocktail list.
So they have this cocktail list, and I was looking at it, and the waitress was telling me what she likes. She's like, I told her I like spicy stuff. She's like, you'll like this, you'll like this. And I looked at the cocktail list, and I was like, wait a minute, hold the phone.
Record skip.
Everything you just said, forget about it, because there's a drink here called the Mexican Firing Squad,
right.
And there's no way I'm not going to have the Mexican Firing Squad, and it was really good.
I think, in fact, you may have like shouted that into her face, like in mid-sentence while she was just. You said, "Hold up."
I was like, you shoot me in the face with the Mexican firing squad. You got this? I want it to be like a Sergio Leone film.
Looking at the ingredients for the Mexican firing squad, it's a tequila, lime, grenadine, and Angostura bitters. So you're basically looking at a margarita that has been sort of bittered. Which it almost the name of it makes it sound like it's going to be a spicy tamale kind of thing.
It was not spicy, but it was like I'm not like a tequila guy to begin with, and as soon as I tasted it, I was like, holy shit, this is good thing I'm not operating heavy machinery later. But
Dos mio.
but it was really good. But it's super strong. Is there anything else on here that's really good?
Looks like your standard. They got pina coladas and it was the El Joven Picante what she was trying to sell you on, because that one's got like mezcal and then chipotle bitters.
I feel like I made a mistake by telling her that I like spicy stuff, but like I like spicy food. I don't know if I like spicy drinks.
Because you're not a big like a Bloody Mary drinker. Or anything,
I hate Bloody Marys.
Yeah, because you're not.
Oh God!
And it seems like in order to get like a spicy drink, it almost has to be sort of like tomato based, and you're not a big tomato juice fan, so you might just be up shit creek, is what I'm trying to say.
I'm not tomato based.
You are not tomato based. You live in the tomato-based universe.
If I ever get like abducted by aliens and I'm on their ship and they're like, what is your base? I'm like, well, it's not tomatoes.
We're like, can we pick up somebody that's not drunk or on God particles?
Or like smoking DMT? How many people do we have to abduct before we find somebody who's actually sober?
We tried getting people from dirt fuck middle of nowhere. They're all drunk. Then we go into the city, and these guys are drunk too.
Also, not to go back into the DMT thing, but like when I was reading about it on Wikipedia, they were saying that a lot of people they think that a lot of people that have like thought they were abducted by aliens, or also like had some type of release of DMT in their brain, because like one of the recurring themes that they keep saying is that you see like trolls or elves or aliens, like little things like running around. That is not the case.
You got none of that.
Yeah, I got none of that. I got a little bit of like lights, and I thought like maybe my living room was a Miami nightclub, but nothing.
Like maybe you got like the sort of like stems and seeds of the DMT or something like that.
I should go back to my drug dealer and just be like, "This is bullshit. I want a refund."
This is like oregano and baby aspirin. That
you call this
smoke.
The God molecule? Because let me tell you something. My God is not short on molecules, Jack. Wait, I don't know what that's a YouTube reference, I think, from Rattle and Hum. All right.
Take that, Bono.
Take that, Phil Giuano. Bam. Hey, we should plug Chucklepedia. I listened to them today, and I'm not sure. Actually, in one of my drunken moments in the South, I had this idea that like we were gonna like actually find a place where we can do a fight, like we like maybe rent out a ring somewhere.
Right.
But only if I can like wear one of those like King Kong Bundy wrestling outfits.
It all depends on how much God molecule we can get our hands on.
That's right. Hey, well, the thing is, this is the thing. Jim Cotter is trained as a judo master,
right,
and I'll be trained in like PCP.
He'll be getting in the proper stance, ready to fight, and you'll be like eating through his car windshield out in the parking lot.
And of course, we have our secret weapon, which is not going to be that much secret after I say it. Joe Gorman's like ready to go. He's like on the side, like doing push-ups, waiting for someone to tag him in.
Like 5'6" of dominating power.
Dude, he's got super strength. He's got like super human giant strength.
Half Moon Bay strength.
All right, so let's wrap this up.
All right.
This bar, I'm going to
dock this boat. That's an acceptable.
Let's bring this boat into the harbor. How about that? That's kind of like Jim Taylor.
Yeah, it's like it's sort of like a yacht rock sort of feel to it. Like
yeah, exactly.
Throw me the rope. Ensign. I know no boating terms at all.
It's like scraping the barnacles off his dinghy.
Hey,
Anyway, all right. So I like this bar. It's great.
Yeah.
It's got a great view. Everybody should come up here. Just check it out.
It's really good. And you know what? They have an extensive
Drinks
collection.
are a little
of-
expensive.
A little bit. They have an extensive collection of heat lamps. So if you can get here when it's nice weather, or even if it's not, sit under a heat lamp, take in the city, hum a Glenn Fry song to yourself.
Yeah. Not to sound like everybody's mother, but bring a jacket because it might get cold.
Wear clean underwear.
Wear clean underwear. All right. So
Try to avoid God particle drugs.
Well, don't pay top dollar for them. That's what I'll say. But if you're somebody who's like curious about psychedelics, that's the one to do, because it's over in like 7 minutes, and then you'll be fine. You'll be watching like Scrubs before you know it.
Do you think that sort of stonery events like laser shows and stuff like that would they play well with this drug, or do you think that it's really something you should do in the privacy of your own home where you won't eat someone's liver or something like
You're
that?
not going to eat anyone's liver. Like, I feel like that is like such a it's a. Like, people are like, oh my god, what if I go crazy and start eating someone's face? It's like, you're not gonna, unless you're somebody who's like thought about eating people's faces beforehand.
Yeah.
Like, there's no drug that's gonna make you
We
like eat
learned
people's
this
faces.
lesson from the guy at 16th Street BART station. Like, he was going to do a dance routine naked in people's face anyway.
Right,
And then
exactly.
people tried to attach bath salts to it, thus giving bath salts a bad name.
Well, you know what? That's a drug that like I've like read about, and I'm like, you know what? I'm steering clear of that fucking drug. Like, there's nothing about that drug where I'm just like, oh yeah, like.
Hey, I like taking baths, I like salt, but I don't want to combine those two.
They sell those at like truck stops across the country. It's like, hey, you're driving an 18-wheeler semi? How about some bath salts? Oh yeah, I'll have 2 of these, 2 of those, and maybe give me some of those bath salts.
That sounds responsible.
Right.
All right, well, let's put this sucker to port. Hard starboard.
Oh, wait, can I say one last thing?
All right.
My favorite like joke of this week is it's a sports joke.
Okay.
And it's this guy who is a lifelong Cleveland Browns fan who died. And like, you don't have to know a whole lot about sports to know that the Cleveland Browns have like sucked for like forever. And if you've ever been to Cleveland or know somebody from Cleveland, they love the Browns. Like, you would think that like they just like have this amazing resilience for like abuse.
Dog pound, all those like idiots.
Yeah, they love football, even though they have like not come close to winning the Super Bowl like fucking ever. And so this guy in Cleveland died, and he wrote his own obituary, and he requested that either current Browns players or former Browns players be the pallbearers at his funeral, so they could let him down one last time.
Oh.
I love it.
Fantastic.
So there you go. End
There
on
you
a
go.
joke.
Hey,
Leave him wanting more, or less, in our case.
from birth to through life, through God particles to death.
To near-death experiences.
There we go. Fantastic.
So I think we covered the whole thing.
Yeah, so we should probably stop.
I don't know. It's so much fun. We should just like stay here.
We'll go on for like another 20 minutes. Just
Hey, remember like when like comedians had this like thing where it's like, I'm going to do the longest set ever, and
Yeah.
like, you know, what's his name? Chappelle, and who's the other?
Dane
Cook.
Cook. Yeah.
They're like, who's got the record? Is it like 14 hours?
Right.
It's like we should have like the longest podcast.
I think like Todd Glass could probably bury us in that. Like his
Yeah.
podcasts are averaging like 3.5 hours long now, and it's like
Three and a-
mostly like singing.
3.5 hours, and that asshole doesn't tell one fucking joke. Hey, you know what? I want to fight those guys. All right, you can probably take Todd Glass, and I'm pretty sure I can take Rory Scovel.
Well, let's team up with the Chucklepedia guys. Like this will be like a classic sort of Marvel comic book sort of twist where it's like,
Yeah, let's
what?
do
Suddenly the two enemies have joined forces to fight Todd Glass.
The enemy of my enemy is my friend. So let's
right.
do that. Hey, take that, Chucklepedia. Like, start working on that. Drew Harmon, start doing your goddamn sit-ups. Because you're going to have to take on... who else is from the Todd Glass show?
I don't know.
Sensitive.
Macho Man Randy Savage.
All right, so let's finally land this.
Yes.
This is SF Barkast. We are signing off from the roof on the mission.
El Techo de lo Lindo.